1 metre by 1 metre square, and then we excavated down using hand trowels in very, very thin 2 centimetre layers. And every 2 centimetre layer, we sift the dirt out of it, and then we bagged it up and put it into these bags. And then these bags come back to the lab, and then we have many long hours of work sorting the material that comes out of it. And so the sort of stuff that we're looking for and that we find include stone artifacts. So you already know that the Aboriginal people who were at this site maybe 3,000 or 5,000 years ago were maybe came into the cave to take shelter, and then when they were there, they were making stone artifacts. And we know that because we're finding the remnants created from that tool making. So maybe someone wanted to skin a kangaroo, they need a knife, you get a nice sharp bit of rock. To get that nice sharp bit of rock, you hit a nice core with a hammerstone to remove nice long flakes. And so you might do a little bit of napping until you get the flake or the knife that you actually want for your task. And so that action creates a whole bunch of small flakes and rubbish being created from that material that was brought into the cave. And that is exactly what we're finding. So we're finding really small bits of stone, which is the rubbish created from that material. And we know that it's not natural because we're looking for specific sort of technological attributes on it. And because this rock hasn't come from inside the cave. We know this rock has only come from a geological outcrop, 20 kilometres away, so it's had to have been people who then brought that into the cave. So stone artifacts is one of the things we look at. The other things we're pulling out are bones, and because we're looking at the small sieve fraction at the moment, they're really teeny tiny bones. So we're pulling out lots of small rodent teeth and other small macropod species. These are really important, even though they're small, because they can tell us about the past environment. So we have different rodents and macropods and species moving here at different times when the environment was different. And so it gives us a really good environmental indicator of change over time. The other thing we're looking for is charcoal. Charcoal is important, A, because it's got carbon in it, and therefore we can date it. We can date that 2 centimetre layer, and also because we have specialists in archaeology who can analyse what species that charcoal is from, and it tells us about the firewood that people chose to bring into the cave to make fires. And again, it can tell us about past environment. And so that's what we're doing here. So we have us and students' volleys come in. They might spend maybe an hour on that tray because it takes a while to go through it. Pull out everything they can see or everything they think might be stone tools or stone artifacts or bone or charcoal or little bits of shell, which Fiona will talk about as well. When that's done, they're put in labelled bags with all the relevant information on them, and then these bags are given to the specialists who can analyse them. Because of course, archaeology, you generally specialise in something because there's so many different aspects of archaeology, you can't be an expert in everything. So my expertise is in stone tool technology. So all the bits of rock will come in bags to me, and then I will analyse them and I'll look at where the geology has come from, and that tells us about the movement of people if we're understanding the movement of rocks. All the bone will go to a faunal specialist. He's very, very good at identifying what species these tiny teeth came from. For example, the charcoal will go to an archaeologist called an anthropologist who specialises just in charcoal, identifying the species of wood that people were using, and then that'll all come together to tell the story of what people were doing in this rock shelter. But this part takes months and months and months, and so when we do a call out for volunteers, whether it's students or retirees, we get people to come in and we train them up in identifying bone, and stone tools, and that actually helps us because this takes a long time to get through. So we definitely welcome people coming in and volunteering while they're doing their undergrad, and it also gives you a good idea of what you're going to be doing as a undergraduate. So if you've got the right temperament to be sitting in a lab for 6 hours, listening to a podcast and sorting out materials. So that's a bit of an explanation. Feel free to ask any questions and enjoy having a bit of a look around at the trays and see what people do.
Videos in particular, you can write about it in an essay if you want. And then we have them all together, so it's actually a really fun part of the year. I used to do a thing where at the end of the year, for the bonus points, I would eat or drink anything that was made relevant to that culture. So we started doing some really disgusting and suspicious things. So people making Aztecs, whatever. And I was like, oh, I'm going to die doing this.
You should have coconut.
Yeah. 3 weeks later. Yeah. So yeah, it's a lot of fun actually trying to actually work with mature culture. And as you're doing archaeology, obviously, as you've seen in these labs, if you have a chance to look at it, you know, you do need to have an understanding of the material world and kind of all of these areas that we eventually start to specialise in, whether it's stone tools or shells or historical artefacts, shipwrecks or rock art or which part of the archaeology that we're focused on. So it's a great starting point. It does look like a wreck though. It's a really site that we're still putting up fences and so we've only just moved here this year, so it's definitely a work in progress.
And there's the rock art outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm about to make it into a rock surface this semester, so I'm trying to get what textured so it actually replicates a bit more. So the rock art that you make in first year, we'll end up recording in second year and third year as well. So we'll literally be making a mark on campus if you're doing that unit as well.